Okay. Hello, everybody, and I'm so glad that you're joining us on today's team training. We've got some fun things to share about takeaways from the ladies coach retreat that we were able to, those of us who were able to go. I know there were so many who wanted to make it and weren't able to, so I'm so excited to be able to share some of the fun things that we learned. Definitely a little plug for events, like breakthroughs definitely happen at events. I always learn something and have these aha moments, and being able to be taken out of my environment and put somewhere with a bunch of people who are ready to learn and grow. And I learn so much, and I always feel like it helps me personally and, with my coaching skills in my business. So we're excited to share about those today. So there's a few of us who are going to be kind of taking turns sharing some takeaways. And then if people have thoughts and questions and ideas, let's make it interactive too. We'll share some takeaways, but even if you weren't at the training, feel free to jump in and, say, oh yeah, I like that, and share aha moments that you're having, and, things that you've discovered with using these skills that we've been learning. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to start with, I'll just go ahead and share a few takeaways. I was telling everyone that I misplaced my notebook with all the treasures from that Liz gave us. So I have to go search for that, and I didn't have time to keep looking. So anyway, so this is kind of just a few things that I can remember. And I'm sure as more people share, I'll think of more. But sorry, I've had some issues. So one thing that we talked about is it relates a lot to the program as clients. So that's what Liz is doing, is looking for the notebook. Totally get it. But yeah, we talk a lot about our whys. So we talk about our why with getting healthy. Why is that important to us? And it's such an important thing to remember to keep us motivated and moving forward on our journeys. It's kind of like keeping our eye on the prize. And it's similar with coaching. I've realized there's so many parallels to when I'm a client and focusing on my health journey, and when I'm a coach and focusing on my coaching journey. And so when I remember that, because oddly enough, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget to think about my coaching whys, even though that's important too. So they talked about the why that makes you cry, and really thinking what is it that matters to you about coaching that's specific to you, that stirs emotion, helping your friends and family. I know there was a coach who, found out that their dad was a walking heart attack. I can't remember who that was. And that they wanted to help their dad. And so that was the why that made them cry, that made them decide they wanted to coach because they had something that they knew would help. They were a client. And maybe it's, wanting to have that, financial stability for your family and help out. Be able to create, memories, be able to stay home with your kids, and still, bring in some income to help out. Whatever it is, there's so many different whys. And so thinking about the why that makes you cry and writing it down, and even having I never thought about it until the Tuesday 20, but having a coach vision board instead of just your own vision board, something specific to the things you want to develop with your coaching business. I thought that was cool. And so did anybody else who was at the training have any thoughts about our whys, or the why that makes you cry? Before I move on to my next takeaway. If you could think about anything, raise your hand, let us know. Another thing that we talked about was being a B+ coach. And this is an awesome concept that we've had training on before. But some of the things that were important is, I know so many coaches, we want to be the best. We want our clients to have the best experience. And so with that, sometimes we try to be an A+ coach, and especially those of us who have that mentality of being an A+ student, but we talked about what does that look like to be A+ in other areas of her life? What does the A+ mom do? The A+ mom drives her kids everywhere, doesn't ever carpool, makes every homemade dinner from scratch every night, the homemade, A+ mom does all of the science projects and homework for their kid or whatever, so they look perfect, and does the Pinterest birthday parties. And anyway, and we talked about how that's really hard. And when we put that pressure on ourselves in one area, it kind of can make other areas suffer. And so with that, we talked about and related it to coaching, and how instead of being that A+ coach, we want to be B+ coaches. We want to do a great job for our clients, but not kind of, again, get out of that all or nothing mentality. We don't have to be perfect, or it's too hard, I give up, right? So kind of like with our health. Again, and some important things about being a B+ coach is that it's sustainable. We won't have burnout. When we're trying to be perfect, trying to do it all, and we're beating ourselves up if we missed one thing, and trust me, like, this was totally me when I first started. And that's why it's been a lot for me to learn. Okay, like, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I know a lot of people say that, and it makes such a big difference. Anyway, so it's sustainable. It's something that we can do, that we can continue moving forward. And it makes coaching more fun because we're not having to be perfect and be stressed out all the time. And then also it's duplicatable. If we're being, this A+ coach, I'm sending out all these extra things and doing, and always anyway. And sometimes we look at a coach and think that, wow, they're like perfect. And that same coach would be like, no, I'm not, trust me. But when we are like trying to be an A+ coach, then sometimes people below us might say, I can't do that. I don't have time to talk with my clients for half an hour every week, every single client, or I don't have time to, I can't think of other good examples, write out these big, long things. And anyway, it's just kind of, when you think of like above and beyond, if that's what we're constantly doing, then it's not going to be duplicatable. People will think it's not something that's attainable for them or doable. And we want to show people that it's doable, we can still excel in other areas of our lives. We can still be a good mom. We can still do these other things. Because we're being a good coach, but we don't have to be a perfect coach. Liz is saying, I find that my why changes. Oh, so good with the whys. My why 7 years ago was just to be able to pay for groceries and get out of the scarcity mindset. So true. 7 years later, now that we have more than enough financially, my why has turned to more of a service mentality. I really want to help others have financial freedom and have big breakthroughs. So I love that. It's so true. Just like with our goals, with health, sorry, I'm kind of like a broken record with that, but our structural tension to stay taut, we need to, our whys evolve. So it starts out as one thing, and then it kind of changes and grows as we evolve. And that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, Liz. So those were a couple of mine, is, the why that makes you cry, really focusing on why we're doing this and remembering that, especially when we get, I don't know, if we start to think, oh, this is hard. My person decided not to keep, doing the program. I don't know if I want to keep doing this or whatever. Remember the why, because it's going to push you through, helping those people who are ready. That's what makes it worth it. Right. And then that B+ coach was a big one. And I'll just share one more. There were so many, but I'll just share one more, which was don't base future goals on current skills. And that was part of Lead from the Future, Act in the Now. And that one was kind of a big aha for me, because I kind of have been doing that. When I reached a certain goal, people are like, okay, what's your next goal? Where do you want to be in a year from now? And my thought was, I just want to be where I'm at now in a year from now, but I want to be more confident where I am now. I don't know if I can handle more. But the whole point is, in a year from now, as I continue to go to trainings, go to events, stay plugged in with our community, and learn and grow, my skill set should increase, and therefore my ability to tolerate anxiety will increase, and I will be less overwhelmed, and I will be able to do more without it seeming like too much. And it's so true. When I first started, there's things that I do now that I would have thought a year ago, there's no way I could do all that. And now I can do it, And so when we're planning for the future and basing our future goals, or setting those, don't base them on current skills, but really lead from the future. Where do I want to be in a year? What do I want to be able to handle and do well in a year? And then we just, continue to plug in and go to work and increase those skills and, have faith that it will happen. Like we will be more capable. Anyway, I look at Liz and I'm like, she coaches like 45 clients regularly. I don't know how I could, and I don't know that I will ever get to a point where I can do that, but I'm sure she didn't start there, that it's something that over years she's been able to develop the skills to handle that, and that it's doable for her. So that was an important one to me. And they talked about, basing our goals, like what do we need to stop to create that future that we want, stop doing, what do we need to start doing, and what do we need to continue doing, and giving ourselves credit for the things we are already doing, and just continue to be, what's the word? I'm forgetting the word. Continue to be
consistent.
Thank you. I was like, somebody knows the word. Continue to be consistent with the good things that you are doing, because consistency over time equals results. And so we just have to be patient to allow those things to happen. And as far as, being overwhelmed right now, one of the best things we can do is to increase our skills. If we're overwhelmed with, the amount of clients or coaches or whatever is on our plate for our business, then it's time to plug in. It's time to attend trainings and increase those skills. And then we won't be overwhelmed anymore, because we'll have the capacity to handle it. So those were kind of some of my takeaways. Who wants to go next?
Awesome. I'll share some. I want to.
Go for it.
Those ones were great. And I jumped on a couple minutes late. So if you guys haven't given a shout out for Christine for jumping on our call, we're so happy to have her here. Those were all awesome. And before I share a couple of my favorite takeaways, when you said that you have a lot of anxiety, Cheryl, it reminded me of a podcast I listened to yesterday from Rachel Hollis. It was all about like getting over what people think about us, like not caring about what people think about us. And she said, if you have anxiety, you have to ask yourself, who are you trying to impress? Because that's what makes you anxious, like trying to impress someone. So like get over that, who you're trying to be perfect for, and like take it, like break it down and just do what you can handle and stop trying to please everyone else. So that just kind of like stuck out to me when you said you have a lot of anxiety. So something for you to think about. I just loved like being in a positive community. I think it was so neat to be around like 80 plus health coaches and to see the positivity, that nobody was talking negative, gossiping, or saying anything bad about anyone else. Nobody was trashing their husband or like complaining about their life. It was all positivity. And I thought, where in our lives are we ever going to be around like such an amazing group of women that just lift each other up and want the best for each other and ask questions and listen to you. And so that's what I loved the very most. But there were lots of great takeaways also. A couple that Cheryl said, the B+ health coach, I love that because they had us say like things that would mean like an A+ mom. What does a perfect mom do? And they were shouting out things like, cleans their kids' rooms, Pinterest birthday parties, like all these like perfect things that like a perfect mom does, and related it to health coaching. Sometimes you can be an overachiever and it doesn't serve anyone else to be like that perfect person. And as a health coach, we're really trying to teach people how to fish, not just give them a fish. So same thing as parenthood, a lot of times we want to do everything for our kids, but it really doesn't serve them to do everything for them instead of teaching them how to do things for themselves as they get older. So it really made me think about myself as a mom, like what I do for my kids that is not serving them, instead of like taking the time to teach them how to do things, which would serve them better. But same thing as a health coach. Our job is to teach our clients to be their own health coach for the rest of their lives. And so when we just hand them all the answers, it's not helping them to become independent. And so it got me thinking about what I do as a health coach that's not serving my clients, like by just giving them all the answers instead of teaching them where to find it. And so I loved one tool that they said, like, is Brussels sprouts okay? Or is tomatoes okay on program? Instead of just answering back, yes, tomatoes are okay, then actually screenshotting the Lean and Green list and like on your phone under edit, circle that. So they can see like, oh, that's in the Optavia guide, and it's right there. So, or you could even say, hey, I'm not sure. Will you check your Optavia guide under the veggies and let me know what you find out? So that's, that's taking it an even step further, making them search for where that is. But, helping them know where to find things. Or when you're asking them questions, ask them, what do they think they should do, instead of always giving them the answer? Like, let them come up with that themselves. So I love that. And I came home and it was Super Bowl Sunday, and I have a couple of men in my ward that were worried about Super Bowl parties. And so I ran home and I made some buffalo chicken dip and brought them a little relish tray with some buffalo chicken dip. And I'm like, that's totally an A+ coach. I'm horrible. And so, but that was a nice thing to do. But it just made me realize sometimes I do more than I need to do. Instead of just giving them the recipe, which I could have done if I thought ahead of time. But so just be aware of how you can aid your clients to actually learn and become more independent. So that was really good. And then last one I wanted to share, actually 2 more quick ones. When Cheryl was talking about skill set, how it changes with your abilities. So if there's something that you feel unconfident, that maybe you're scared to talk to people, or something that you don't know how to do well, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that neuron is not connected in your brain to know how to do that. It's just a skill set you haven't practiced. And so the more you practice, then it becomes automatic. So if you're scared of something, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you haven't practiced it enough. And so don't think there's anything that you can't do. It just means that you just need to try a little bit harder, practice until it becomes natural. Just like speaking in front of people, I used to get up and shake, and I was so nervous, and it was panic attack, anxiety, who am I trying to please? But the more I practice, it's not a big deal anymore. And so that just really resonated with me. If there's something you're scared of, just means you need to practice more. And then the last one really quick was I really liked Lori Warren taught about time blocking. A lot of times we waste a lot of time coaching, doing busy work that's not really productive, maybe spending too much time on Facebook or, things that aren't really growing your business. So really being intentional with what we do. So getting a list of things that you need to get done and time block it. Have 2 hours that you just have your list and you just go and get it done. And then that's the best thing about coaching is we work very part-time hours. If you are intentional with what you do, then you have all this time for freedom to work on yourself and your family. And so even time blocking, things that aren't health coach related, all those calls that you need to make, to the insurance company and, to cancel a subscription or to call about a bill, whatever it is, time block it into once a week. This is the time I take care of that busy work. Or so just being more productive with that time, getting your Google Calendar, or some people like to have it on paper, but actually blocking out your work time. And those are stones in your schedule that don't move. So when you make an appointment, to the doctor, I work during 11 and 1. What else is available? Just like if you were going to a job, they would schedule that around your work. Same thing if you're working at home. You don't have to just do whatever just because you work at home. So having those rocks in your schedule, the training calls, those are rocks. Those things that are really going to grow your business, those are rocks. Same thing with family time. If your rock is dinner time, you don't have to pick up the phone and answer a client call or message anyone back. Those are rocks in your schedule. So don't feel like you have to jump, whenever a client texts that you have to jump right on and answer them. You can have hours that you message back, and you can really organize your life around what matters most to you if you do that. So those were my big takeaways. Karen, I'm calling on you. I see you.
Thanks so much, Liz. That was awesome.
Oh shoot. Low power mode. I gotta plug
this in. Sure.
Just give me a second to plug it in, okay?
All right. Well, Janae's on. Well, Karen's plugging in. Janae, do you want to share a couple of yours while she's getting some power? I don't know if Janae can. I only see her ceiling.
Oh, I'm here if you're ready for me.
Okay, go ahead. Right. And then Janae, if you have a couple, you're after Karen if you want.
Okay, so I was really thinking about Chantel Flake's. She talked about concept busting, and so first I really think I should explain what that is. When we have excuses that we make, or even limiting beliefs. Sometimes we tell ourselves a story of certain things. Like one example could be, well, I don't want to be salesy, so I don't want to bother people. I don't want to let them know, I don't want to tell them about the program because I don't want to seem like I'm selling something. Or, sometimes it's like the concept could be, I'm just really afraid. I don't want to tell, I can't just get on the phone and tell people about this. Or just any, I mean, some of it, they even said, you could say, oh, the product's really expensive, and so I don't want people to have to buy it. And just anything that holds us back from helping others and continuing forward. And so I loved the imagery of, there's a group of elephants, and some guy was visiting a country with a group of elephants, and they were all in a row, and they had these, just like a tiny little rope that were connecting them, and they all were just standing there like perfectly obedient. And the guy's like, how do you get those elephants to do that? And the trainer
and actually, just real quick, they were a little rope just hanging off their foot, not tied to anything, just hanging there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
I missed that part. I knew there was something. Okay. So just standing there, like, how did they get them to do this? And the guy said, well, we trained them from the time they were little. And when they were little, the rope was enough to hold them. And so when they grew up, we left the rope on, and they think that it's the same as when they were little, and that they're not strong enough to do anything with it. And so they don't even need, and that, I think that's when they actually took the rope off of a tether, and just let it hang on their foot, because they feel it there. And so they think, oh, well, I can't go anywhere because I have this rope on me. And so the idea is that we have these concepts, we have these stories in our head that keep us from moving forward, because we don't just go, wait a minute, let me challenge that. Let me see what I can do to do something different. And basically then she went on to talk about the dreams that we have, like what's holding me back from dreaming bigger, and what's holding me back from accomplishing that goal or that dream. And then, so, right, Liz is saying, the one question is, what is what if the opposite were true? Basically, what if we, whatever it is, the concept we have, what if it was just the actual opposite of that? And what is the biggest thing holding me back right now from accomplishing my dreams and dreaming bigger and figuring out what I can do to move forward and to help more people? And so the three questions that she went on to ask, that she wanted us to ask ourselves, is, what is the biggest thing holding me back? Number one. Number two, what am I without that one thought? So whatever that thought is that's holding you back. And then she actually said, now say it in a whiny 2-year-old voice. Like, maybe it's, I can't talk to people. Or, mine was, my concept was, what if I make more money than my husband? And you're like, what will he do? So, and what if I do? So, but then it's interesting, because I've thought a lot about that, my own concept, and then thinking about this over the past couple of days. And one of the things is, I was thinking, just like I did with my kids, like they were like, oh, you're always on the phone, you're always doing coaching, and they were kind of getting irritated. And so I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. But then I went to my kids and I was like, hey, what if we get to go to Florida all together as a family this summer? And they're like, yeah, I want to go to Florida. I want to fly to Florida. I said, okay. But now you have to remember that this is why I'm on the phone. This is why I'm talking to clients. This is why I'm doing this, because I'm making money so that we can go to Florida. So you have to stop complaining about me being on the phone. And the idea there is that they have a buy-in. They have something that helps them to see that what I'm doing is important, but it will benefit them in as well. And so it's not, oh, that's just something mom does, but it's something that they can help me by not interrupting or not getting frustrated with me. And so then the idea for me as well with that was, well, what if I got my husband on board with me? So I actually invited him to go to our convention in Florida with me before our family vacation, so that I could get him to be more involved with me. And then as we're involved together, then it won't matter if I make more money, like we'll be doing it together. So that was a big thing for me. Let's see. I really also wanted to kind of piggyback a little bit on what Cheryl said about leading from the future. When we don't have enough skills for the challenges that come before us, that's when our anxiety level starts to go up. But there's what they call the sweet spot or the contentment zone, and that's when our skills match our challenges. And so because if our skills are too much above what we actually are doing in our life, then we actually become bored. So we want to increase our skills and our talents so then we can be ready for the challenges ahead of us. So oops, sorry, I really loved that too. Trying to look at notes here. And then just looking at some of the quotes that they posted, like, discomfort is the currency to your dreams. So remembering that, when we're kind of feeling anxious about something, that's helping us to move forward so that we can accomplish the dreams that we have. And realizing that there are things that comforts that serve us, things that we do that help us. And then there's certain comfort, by being in our comfort zone. And sometimes that doesn't serve us. So that in other words, if we're in a comfort zone and we're only doing certain things because that's where we're comfortable at, we don't ever push ourselves to move forward, then that's when it stops serving us. So those were some great things. I also went to the decluttering class. I don't know if anyone else was there. I know Liz was kind of standing there, but I loved that too, because it, when we think about decluttering our house, we think, well, how is that related to health coaching? But she talked about how decluttering our lives, whether it be our calendars, whether it be our homes, our minds, anything that's distracting us from focusing on what we really want is really going to benefit us to declutter those things. And it helps us to be more, when we're more organized, we can stay on task, and we can also accomplish a lot more when we have a system in place and things decluttered. So I'm hoping those are good takeaways.
Those are great. I see that I see Janae's face. Janae, did you have any that you wanted to share? Oh, you're muted.
There you think I'm off now. Yeah, that was great, Karen. Those were a lot of great takeaways. I think one of the things that I really enjoyed was what Kat Fuller's explanation of the drama triangle. And I even came home and looked it up on YouTube and watched. It's by The Conscious Leader. So if anyone needs to review the drama triangle, that was really, I loved that. And I loved how I could see myself in those different, like as hero. Sometimes I'm a hero. I know there's been times when I've been a victim or I've been a villain. And I like how she also mentioned that we need to take responsibility and move on and that when you're in the drama triangle, you're below the line. And so by asking our clients different questions and ourselves questions, we can get ourselves out of that drama triangle, and it can take us from living below the line and help us to get above the line.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was awesome, Janae. I'm actually glad you really brought that up, because I was thinking of that too. I was like, oh, I didn't talk about this. So that was perfect. The drama triangle. I feel like that goes along with a lot of what the other things that we were talking about. And when Liz was talking, I was like, oh yeah, it kind of goes along with being that B+ coach too, is when we're coaches, we want to step in and be the hero and have all the answers for our clients so they don't have to do it, and or for our kids or whatever, we get stuck in that, drama triangle, and, living above the line and being able to, do you remember, Janae, do you have the notes, like, when we switch, like what the new names are, instead of like the hero, it's another name?
Right. So instead of a hero, we're the challenger. And then instead of a villain, you're a coach. And instead of a victim, you're the creator.
Awesome.
And so, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, no, I love that. Thank you so much. Did anybody else have any other takeaways they wanted to share before we end today? Those were awesome. That was awesome. Thanks so much, Karen and Liz and Janae. Who else shared? I don't remember. Me? Is that it? Anyway, so we really hope that we can see more people at our next event. I don't know when that will be. Maybe it'll be convention. So we hope that you guys would be there, because I love hearing everyone's takeaways. Often people will have something that comes to their mind that I didn't even think of, or that I had forgotten about. So that was awesome. Hopefully that has some value for you guys. We did record this, so we'll be able to share that with other people who weren't able to jump on. So Liz is saying March 2nd is our next, that's right, our next event in the Salt Lake area. So I think that's a Saturday too. So for those of you who work, hopefully that'll be more helpful or a more doable time for you. Thank you, everybody. Yep.
You know what? I heard potentially they're going to live stream that for those of us that are not right in the Salt Lake area.
Perfect.
Yes? Okay.
I think yes. Liz says yes. I kind of do remember hearing something about that. So that's awesome. So everybody can jump on, even if you're not, sorry, my hair is being crazy, even if you're not in the local area. So that's perfect. And then hopefully we'll get to share takeaways with that later. Thank you everyone for hopping on. We'll go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording now.